recognizing that early is pretty strong for you.
I'll tell you that all three of my kids have credit cards.
Okay.
That's how important it is to me, because it's America is a place that gives a person a lot of opportunity. You know, I'm fortunate enough to be first generation here in the United States. I remember my first language being Spanish. I remember, you know, my mom going through all the challenges of being a woman in the 70s and working in Los Angeles, and, you know, my dad, you know, going through his challenges. So I got to experience that and I got to live that, and I learned from it, right? I learned a certain way, but here's what I didn't do. I didn't let that be the rest of my life. I learned it, and then I remained open-minded. And when I met my wife, right, she brought on a whole different level of enlightenment on the subject. And then I was like, wait, why am I resisting? Just because it's tradition? Because
yeah, no, it's funny you bring that up. It's amazing the power of the belief system, and the belief system that goes along with tradition, things that you learn at a young age from your mom, dad, aunt, uncle, best friends, parents, whoever. And not to say that they're not trying to teach us the right things, but again, if they don't know, they can't teach, right? Sure. And the fact when you become a young adult, you're open, right? You just described what we call a growth mindset instead of a fixed mindset.
Correct.
You know, and I talk about mindset a lot because I really believe it's the foundation, like building a house, right? If your foundation is weak, you're building a house of cards. That sucker's falling down.
Correct.
So the mindset is critical, and it's the number one chapter in my workshop because it's just that important. But my point is, so you, as I'm hearing it, you know, evolve from you. You had that growth mindset. You watched your dad do that. The tradition, though, from your mom, because your mom's from Mexico, right?
Correct.
So in different generation, baby boomer, early baby boomer, where, man, tell me about the stories she told you and how they handled money over there when she was growing up and building her, because I know your mom did fairly well for herself in her lifetime, but man, did she share those stories with you?
Absolutely. So I am so privileged. My mother's still with me at 89.
Sweet. That's awesome.
So it's a blessing, and it brings a smile to my face. But absolutely. Now that I've talked to, you know, probably thousands of people across the country from all walks of life, lawyers, doctors, the most intimidating, right, for a guy from Los Angeles, you know, that went to LA Unified School District, you know. After speaking to all these individuals, I realized that asking questions is a wonderful thing. And then the other thing that's really wonderful is listening. And then you couple that with action. Wow, now you're unstoppable. So I started taking action, and I go, wow, I have this amazing blessing right here next to me at my disposal, and I could talk to her every day and I can ask her questions. And one of the best stories she told me that in recent times that comes to mind is when she was 25 years old. That puts it back in, I'm going to give you actual time. So in 1952.
Yeah, early
54.
50s. Yeah.
As a young woman, my mother was met with a dilemma. Her mom came up to her, my grandmother, came up to her and said, hey, you need to help my sister. She borrowed money from a man, and now he's going to garnish her house. And my mom goes, what do you want me to do? She goes, we know you have money. Everyone knows. I need you to go pay that note and buy that house. Wow. And my mom did it. And I'm thinking that's pretty amazing for a 25-year-old woman in Mexico that even today is very male chauvinistic, right?
Right.
That she was able to do that. And not only that, she was able to come to America. And then before she turned 70, she was a multimillionaire.
Wow.
In the U.S.
Did you ever have conversations with your mom on how did she create her mindset and understand, you know, compound interest, the rule of 72, that, or was this by accident, you think, just because tradition, right? Tradition in that culture or in that era of time was really hanging on to every penny that you literally try to make and just being as frugal as possible in life.
So, just to give you a little content or a little color on it, my mother was raised in the agricultural industry revolution. That's what predominated at her time in Mexico. Now it's evolved, it's more multifaceted. During that time, she was, it's interesting because I'm reading a book called The Better Half right now. So, and it touches on this and the ability that women have that's so superior. And she was trusted with a lot of different jobs. And a lot of these jobs required your basic math, adding, subtracting, multiplication, and division. And she became, to her, it was secondhand. So she figured out very quickly that, and she listened to her elders, because that's old school mentality. The rule of 72, they have a different version that maybe is a little more conservative. I'm not really familiar.
Okay.
But the rule of 72 is brilliant. And they had, because she held on to her heritage, she maintained that very rustic way of being like, no, X amount of dollars that I earn have to go. And then after that, we're going to purchase a house. And then we're going to get a duplex, and we're going to rent one, and the one's going to pay for the other. And then we're going to stack up money again, and then we're going to do it again. And then we're going to get into an apartment building. And this is the way she lived her life. And, to me, it was amazing because I'll never forget. I was always in front of them when they cashed their checks. And my mom and dad always did it together. And my dad always gave his check to his wife.
Wow.
And you know what? My dad told me too. My dad was like, listen to me, boy. Your woman is your other half. She's your partner. Okay. You pick her like you're going to war, and you want to have somebody there that's a confidant. And an interesting thing is that I had my share of girlfriends.
Right.
And when I brought my wife over, my father he looked at me and he gave the nod of approval in his own very rustic way. But yeah, definitely Myrna made an impression on, she makes an impression on everything she looks at, touches. It's amazing.
I agree. Your wife is a pretty incredible woman with some amazing talents, for sure. So real quick, I'm going to interject here for a second, because we've mentioned the rule of 72 twice. And I think there might be people out there like, what the hell is that? Right.
Sure.
So I'm going to give you a quick short version of what it means, so you guys know, which is compounding, which means the rule of 72 means how long it takes for you to double your money based on the interest it's earning. So as example, if you are earning 1% in the bank, which we're not, but let's just say you are, and you put $10,000 in there, it would take 72 years to double to 20,000. Right? Which 72 years obviously is a lifetime. So that's why it's imperative that we understand the rule of 72, because do we want to earn 1% or do we want to earn 8, 10, 12%? Right? And when the credit card companies are like, well, the interest rate on this card is 24%, how fast are they getting the return? Like 3 years. So again, that when we talk about that, that's what that means. That's a deeper, longer lesson in my teachings when I teach this stuff live. So, but anyway, let's keep going. So your story goes, but you, at an early age, you started to know, and it sounds like your mom was a numbers person, and I'm a numbers guy, but I think we've both realized we've both have had the pleasure and the opportunity of talking to, again, thousands of people across this country. A lot of people are not numbers people. They just aren't. They don't get it. It's foreign to them.
If I had to take a guess at that, and I haven't done zero research on it, I think that our devices are making us weaker in the mind.
Good perspective.
Maybe,
Well, it's convenience, and everybody wants instant now, right? Okay, I get it. But again, tradition does have a huge factor. Tradition dictates, how we celebrate holidays, right? How we celebrate, they start picking political parties and all that, and we're definitely not going down that road. But tradition is how we get shaped, in our lives because of what our families have done, most likely generationally, right? I mean, I believe I'm an entrepreneur because my grandfather was, my father was, my uncles, I got cousins, everybody's an entrepreneur. It's just, in our DNA, so to speak. But I know plenty of people that are the opposite. Their parents were, they stuck out their jobs, and that was the path they knew, and that's the path they led. And you can go either path. I'm cool with either one.
Well, you know what I believe? I believe that your social environment has a lot to do with it as well. I think we've heard the verbiage in the past where, your five closest friends, their income divided by five
Right.
is your income.
Yes.
That has a lot of value. So if you're surrounded, I'll give you an example. I've been to some cities, I won't mention their names because I don't want to offend anyone, but I've been to places where people are blue collar. And when you start talking about leverage and you combine that with credit, you see a whole different side of that person. They become uncomfortable. They become defensive. You're going against the grain. Everything that, they came from debt, somewhere in their family, they went through a hard time and those traditions carry. And when you come into town and you don't look like them, they've never seen you, you don't dress the way they dress, you don't speak the way they speak, and you're not aware of any of that, and you dismiss all that, you're not connecting. And what happens a lot of times, I think people are now, we're absent of connecting. So therefore, what stops people from actually filling out, well, okay, first stop. I want to kind of retrack a little bit. Like, you covered the 1% and the rule of 72. Well,
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. If you want to watch the whole podcast episode, then go ahead and click right here. Okay? Do me a favor, if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. And if you want to hit the notification bell, you'll get notified every time we release a new video out for you, whether it's the clip or the whole podcast. So hope you get a lot of value, and I'll see you guys on the next one.